these boys will be back in, half an hour or something like that.
We call ourselves the Hot Alexes.
The Hot Alexes?
Yeah, and the
That's
rest.
a really good name.
Yeah.
The Hot Alexes and Co.
And Co.
Yeah. All right, well, we're back to the spoken word. Now, we have only got a couple of names on the list. Is there anybody out there who wants to read this one? Oh, I see you. I see you. If you're feeling it. Anyway, we'll get Esther up first. Anyway, okay? So please make Esther very, very welcome.
Thanks, y'all. So I've been in Australia for about 1 week now. I like it. I like Melbourne. And this is actually my first open mic here too. So I have 3 poems. One stands alone, and then the second and third one are two-parted, if you will. You left me on May 15, 2015. Nearly 18 years after we first met, dropped me to the ground with a dramatic tear, time and space ripping in half, as I tried to comprehend the significance of your topsy-turvy departure. Baby, I hate the way you left me, but I love and respect your drama. You were never meant to be subtle. We were never meant to say goodbye gently. It's a good thing I pick soft landings. You seduced me the day I spent $6 on you in a humid marketplace in Brazil, razzle-dazzling me with your sassy fringed edges, your boldness peeking out at me from a rainbow collection of fabrics, your braided white and green rope things playing with my heartstrings and begging to play with knots. You swinger you, my hammock harlot. For you, I suspended my disbelief, trusted a little more, cuddled with my curiosity, and nestled with knickknacks of adolescent nerves. Discovered the gravity of growing pains, careened between carabiners, and explored my first love with a man-child who became my adventure guts wanderlust buddy. Because you were the best wingman I could ever want. No, wingwoman. No, I never gendered you despite demands, but you were definitely my wings. Transport to bold conversation, justified introversion, swinging self-care, and everything delicate in between. You are equidistance. The perfect distance between a combusting star and a blooming marigold. The delicious luminescence between an in-season tangerine and an Arctic alpenglow. A wing thing helping me soar the span between adolescence and adulthood. A sunburst rope bridge dangling me across puberty. We shared 3 countries on a passport, but you'd probably scoff and say there's more, at least 4, and I wouldn't disagree since your ego is big enough for its own nation state, albeit one with open doors. Most people were welcome inside our shifting borders, as long as they carried storytelling on their backs and compassion in their cores. And the tales you've heard and the healing you've grown would shock the discretion out of my mother. You have exposed the ignorance in the marrow of my bones. I've learned wild secrets about myself in the curve of your thread spine. I offered you the gift of shenanigans in exchange for your presence of mended time. And lover, I stopped believing in a haloed heaven a long time ago, and I don't think I'm going to start now. But if there's a place where your dignified remains get to rest as well as I have in your braided mane, I hope you weave tales of a much younger Esther, her gasping awe trying to grasp this world's beauty, and all of the tenderness together you've contained. Alright, so one of the funner things I've been able to do over the last 2 years when I was living in Alaska was volunteer to help out with puberty workshops, which are essentially trying to provide a space for parents and guardians and adults with their children who are going through adolescence to learn about puberty and explore the subject. And it's really fun and really uncomfortable and awkward and as terrible as you might imagine it could be, but really delightful. So that inspired these 2 poems. A half-dozen little girls are huddled into their mothers, seeking protection in arms they wear like awkwardly fitting armor. One child has hidden herself under cushions in a corner and scrunched herself into a tiny ball. I can almost imagine her burying her nose into her skinny knees and repeatedly mumbling, "I'm not here, I'm not here, I'm not here. If I can't see them, then they can't see me." It's the kind of workshop where at least half of the attendees are noticeably uncomfortable, purposely avoiding eye contact, counting the milliseconds on the lazily ticking wall clock, and deviously thinking of ways to punish their parents after the evening's end. And I can't quite decide who I empathize with more, mothers who brought their reluctant daughters here, or daughters who were dragged, bribed, or implored. The subject is puberty, and we all feel tender. Some of us because it's a sandstorm already twisting and advancing on the horizon. Others because we've already dodged our own dust devils, and instead want to grab our children's hands and fly, follow the second star to the right to a mythical land where they never have to grow up. Where we never had to grow up. But we can't. So instead, we're here to learn, to try to create a space where there's less shame, less fear, and less unknowns. And this evening is a microcosm of the transition these children are going through. And I'm simultaneously relieved that I'm no longer an adolescent and overcome with unexpected jealousy. My mind keeps crawling through the things I didn't know back then. The conversations I'm sure I would have tried to avoid if they had happened, but they never did. My puberty was stealing knowledge like crumbs of bread, and I was ravenously starving, sneaking copies of romance novels from used bookstores to try to comprehend a million things I didn't know but felt pressured to understand. Playing tug-of-war with my mother when she found me reading one titled Ravished. Before she confiscated it, I shouted, "I promise I didn't read the inappropriate parts." And it's no surprise she wasn't convinced. My puberty was locking myself in my room and weeping to the croons of Evanescence. I wrapped myself tightly in life jacket books, tethered myself to fictional worlds at the dinner table, and swallowed metaphors for entrees, the main course, and dessert. Confessed love to boys I barely knew through sappy yet cryptic anime-paired love letters. My puberty was being taught that holding hands is a gateway activity that leads to pregnancy, STIs, and death. Masturbation was something only guilty boys did, but if thoughts counted, then I was on a one-way, slippery slip and slide to hell with my sins. Alright, and then the second part is, my puberty was shyly hugging the walls of the halls of supermarkets and hiding tampons and pads beneath magazine-filled baskets, clumsily dissecting the million mixed messages the media sent me about body image, worth, and self-esteem, wading through a strategically marketed, unobtainable standard of airbrushed, whitewashed beauty. My puberty was my body simultaneously maturing too slow and too fast, one day being embarrassingly flat and then suddenly guarding a responsibility of a chest. I thought bras were always supposed to be uncomfortable. Matter of fact, I still kind of think that. My puberty was wielding a soap-lined razor like a weed whacker, meticulously mowing down my body of hair with a mixture of vengeance and fear, stripping and scraping my goosebumped baby skin for nearly 10 years. Tell me, was I a child or a woman when I drew blood long before my first blood? Society has taught me that my body is a Pandora's box without the hope, that I'll always be living with the poisoned apple guilt of Eve, and my pleasure should be belted tightly beneath chastity. My mother taught me to be both wild and serene, to humbly laugh at my clumsy mistakes, to seek wisdom from anyone and everything, to assume positive intent in conflict, and to boldly and ambitiously dream. And I taught myself that being a woman can mean anything. That I was never supposed to fold my body to fit into a rigid box made and enforced for someone I don't believe exists. To the girl who anonymously asked, "Why do we have to grow up so fast?" My answer is this. I know you may wish that you could stay young forever, that you could retain your soothing innocence. But this world is filled with too much magic for us to stay exactly the same. You are on the precipice of adulthood. And there's room in Neverland for growing pains. Thank you.
Give me applause going for Esther, please. Wow. Welcome to Melbourne. Alright. Now we've got another recently brought to Australia character, which is Sam. Please make her very welcome. This is very exciting.
Hey, this venue is fucking dope. So I'll just put that out there first. It's a privilege to be here. That's fucking amazing. Okay, so I make a really shit first impression, but a really decent second one. So this piece, whatever it is, I've just been thinking about it a lot, so I'm gonna do it anyway. It's called Like Poets. Poets don't really do one-night stands. Instead, we sit when we can on pedestals and well-intentioned expectations and ideological nest eggs of fragile could-be shells and yoked shoulda-bees. I've been told more times than I can count to just let the beat drop. This is why I don't freestyle. I've got the words, I'm just not so good at waiting my turn. There's a moment between your 8th cigarette of the morning and your 6th or 7th beer where it could go either way, and it's not solely up to you or me. Nah, we're past that point, aren't we? It's all to the couch, and I guess the pull of gravity, and the only way to fight gravity is with a cocktail. Mine, 1 part cynicism, 2 parts disbelief, and a dash of you-inspired YOLO. And here I thought you were drinking Labatt, but now you're all rose-tinted beer goggles, super glued to your temples. I like that. The world has to tilt left or right. Your head's just too big to stay upright, so fall. Your ego deflates for the last point blown through a row of crooked bottom teeth. And now I'm less concerned with an eloquent twist of hot air than I am with the sound you make when I push my fingers through your hair. And I'm not very good at this, but that seems to be my cue to do something more useful with my tongue and my lips than just bounce semantics off you under normal circumstances. I'd push while you pulled, but you're keeping your eyes open just to avoid mine, and it's an action that's got me reacting instead of asking myself if this is a good idea. In my defense, you have not been seduced until a man who puts out 300 words a minute 60 times an hour stops talking. Sometimes I wish the English language had a tense outside of time, because I can't bring myself to taint this and date this by clouding it up with yesterday's, tomorrow's, or past perfect implications. And it's probably presumptuous, but I am pretty notorious for assuming things will get laborious before we even start to explore this. But I had every endgame outlined by the time you laid back down and asked me to push my fingers through your hair. One more for the road? Enough of this act. It's over, it's gone, goodbye. And now militant feminist sounds. Yay! Okay. There's a broken, patched up man who uses one-liners like they're mortar that never quite sticks and never quite dries, but he can't stop trying to seal the cracks, like it's gonna stop everyone. Stop me from realizing that he's the Titanic, and he lives in Europe, New York, and DC, and when I first met him, he really liked me. So, I laid my baggage out, this first state fortress. It was diagnosable post-traumatic chicken wire under the guise of honesty and fair play hospitality, because I wasn't gonna be a housewife or some clingy biddy, and he needed to know that he was wrong. And I was just too big, too loud, too goddamn accomplished, and too free to be caged and fucked by anyone but me. When was this post-sweat cigarette replaced with a nod and a handshake, and nails nervously nicking knickers turned to quick quakes during a smoke break? We hear, love that body, till the next pretty young thing tops it, and then we hear, love your mind, until you can't afford the condoms in a back pocket. We'll call it drunken like, because love is too big a 4-letter swear. Radicalism is ignorance, and empathy is just an extraneous affair. Neo-feminism! Here's to defining yourself by many men and desperately boasting. Financially independent, eco-friendly, wine of the week toasting. We can fuck like the boys now. So, let's pat ourselves on the back for being ambitious while we wield our infertility, a tirelessly sought new age dowry. Forget carrying me across a threshold. I'll ask you to spot me on salted ice, just to justify lacing my fingers with yours without you pushing my face into a headboard. And we'll smoke our shameful romantic fantasies away, because we'll have our Pulitzers before the cancer takes us. Break my heart. Wear your heart on your sleeve in a buffalo winter. Prepare for the day it'll freeze and splinter. There's no crying into the instant coffee, all we can afford after the rent and electricity. I'll let one of the 22 poets who have a dick be vulnerable on stage, because that's an act of bravery. It's stoic, really, instead of merely biological tendency bearing its brazen throat in a premenstrual barbaric yawp. We have two choices. We can raise our ankles or raise our voices, and if we choose both, we get a spot on HBO as the uppity bitch still raving about equality selflessly awarded us by a senate of AARP-wielding white men 30 years ago. I have no naively sage advice for you today, and no one knows if you asked anyway, but if it matters, this is what stuck. Those of us who expect a payout live in a static state of perpetual disappointment and apparent redundancy. So quit your three-syllable words, quit your smoke breaks, quit your caffeinating, quit your mental masturbating, and stop hiding that femininity behind this wide-hip stance of equality. Thanks.
Wow. Well, I've just been blown away by the last two poets.
Nice, Esther, got it.
Another round of applause, please. For both of you, fucking ridiculous. And please come back next month. Fuck yeah. Whew, whoa. Yeah, alright. Well, look, okay, so here's the situation. We have one more poet left. But he's one of the ones who, you gonna do it? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Please make Louis very, very welcome. Right now. That's what's happening.
That way. I'm going to lift the mic for you. How's that?
Okay, so I have to fish this out just because I'm so keen to actually just read something or something. And this is actually just some old stuff and like from my language translated through Google Translate. So it's kind of funny in the way it comes out. So if it doesn't make sense, that's Google's fault. Okay. Okay. Smoke rings. Her eyes cut straight lines. My heart leaks out like water between winter cliffs. At least the lightning also dances at my peaks. She remains staring at me. Light fills the chalice of her shoulder and touches my hand on her. Her face in shadows, only smoking silence. I entice the smoke between my lips, over my cheek, my eyes sneak mischievous thoughts. The canyons fill with rivers of light and dark. My eyes veil wings on the cool cliffs. My hands caress sandstone. Your smoke rings. Okay. So that's kind of poetic. Thanks, Google. Okay. Your skin crawl when the bath water cools around you. You have become a statue between pigeons, ashen wings whirling everywhere. A white robe tears over concrete shoulders. My palms blossom lavender flowers while the afternoon turns dark. These words drip like mud from my fingers. Bubbles, like pearls, stars in the sea, rolling in your body, and my dreams soapy drool over your nakedness. On your shoulders and hips lay blood streaks where barbed quills scribble poison kiss poetry. I dreamt I played with your hands. You came in from the thunderstorm. We stood next to the fire. I dried your hair. Near you I break open. I bring you the smell of lemons in my hands. The night will cool vapor over our room windows. Fold yourself in my silence and breathe. And just one more, which is one that I always like, which actually works so much better in my language, but I'm going to try it. Okay, I'll read it in my language and then I'll read it in English. Okay. Die havelose skimme trails. Okay. Die hawelose skimme tree hul tyd saam met tree, met laaste goue, it's hard, I don't speak my language anymore. Okay, I'm gonna start again.
Yeah.
Die hawelose skimme tree hul tyd saam met tree, met laaste goue krieseltjies in hul spoor, voor die son weer stilstaan in die oop deur van 'n komende seisoen, tussenin rusplek gevind. 'n heide skemer in pynbos dof gestof, waarin ons oë blink wimpers na kon sak, na kuile van 'n gedeelde glimlag. Which means the wandering shades, and according to Google it means, okay. The wandering shades pace carefully, a few last gold crumbs in their tracks, before the sun pauses again at the open gate of a new season, an in-between resting place, a hazy dusk, dusted in fine heather, into which our eyes, shiny lashes and all, could set to dimples of a shared smile.
Give the applause going to Louise. Okay, well look, we've got a request from Mr. Schwali Buckle to get up on the stage and read a poem, so I'd like to make him very welcome.
Hello. So I've just written this piece over a little while, and it's about, you guys know what a tree sit is? Yeah, it's like, you know, when a forest is about to be like clear fell logged and, you know, like, it's like the equivalent of like locking on, but up tall. They build this amazing like little cabin, real self-sufficient up in the tree, and it stops people from fucking up the animals and the forest, which is awesome. These guys live up there, or girls, these people, these amazing humans live up there for months on end sometimes, and I love that. And so I do campaigning and fundraising for the Wilderness Society, and so we've been working with this forest and talking about how important it is and trying to like stop it from getting clear fell. And so like when we're out in the streets, it's really cold. I was like thinking about these guys and like I should just shut my pussy ass up and just like deal with it, you know, it's 7 degrees instead of like 2 degrees up there. So this is about testing yourself, and it's I've never been up a tree sit before, but my activism is different. So this is dedicated to them. Yeah. Alright. I'm in a lone tree sit in the depths of the highlands, with a promise to the mother to hold strong while they fight back. While your canopy is my home, let my heart be your canopy, whose chains won't shred this land until they kill, maim, or capture me. While the animals in torpor, so I bought my blankets. This thin, basic cabin is my home now, I thank it. Simple zen, this winter den, I sit, so they won't slaughter them. Surreptitious begun the wind that night, when its whispers and whistles through thistles and bracken turned orchestrated madness. Then, whoosh, a question raises tension, breaks the silence and takes attention. I best inspect to at least meet this shriek, not freak lest in a state be shuttered. Defenestrated answers and shards of bark and glass lay waiting, so I shepherded survivors off the floor and into states of waking. The window gone now bears its bone and hanging skeletal frame. The widow's moan on loan from death itself, shook from core to break. As rooks do play in straight line of sight that sign the life of way, that little bird flew in, the wind in itself to blame. For foggy was perspective and clouded was the eve. Frogs, cicadas, silenced by the eeriness of breeze. And as the teariness of clouds astounds the mind and glistens fabrics, I was praising the might of this eve with ease. With the river comes disease, with the changing climate dying bees. Thus, my fire lost its glow when the cabin lost its shield. My window, my portal now open to all. The tempest returneth to Prospero. A temperate A temperament mercurial, I went from praise to malaise, for this day had had its way with me, a branch snapped from sway. I must branch out midst dismay from this deluge's hooray. Refuge could be mine on this sacrilegious day. But how to save this self from winter's hell, to pave my way to crimson wells and flimsy shelves filled with books. Books could calm and silence bells. That wishing well that swallows borrowed time, I would follow, silent mind, to profit from this stolen time and pass this winter's solemn night without the fear of fighting frigid with the rigidness of night. But no. That mission glistened, unfazed, burning in the sanctum of the mind. How could I listen to mere homeostasis? I was in the storm with injured bird, adamant resolve like ninja's word, had heard the call of Zeus and thunder's boom like that in frantic herds, and was nothing next to the antics of chainsaws. And so to pass the time with depth of mind, instead of insults asinine, wrapped within this cloak of mine, I'd find solace in broken rhymes. All I had was words to capture this rapture, snatch it from the real world into lines, paragraphs, chapters. I shared Aragon's sadness and anamorph magic, so in nature's rafters I was adamant I would catch it and then share it. My avian friend started to wail again. Thanks for saving its skin. I thought the same to him, for alone would be grim, so to this little prince I sing. I wrapped the bird within the tapestry banner and bundled it under my jacket like mummified artistry. Part of me, I felt its heartbeat rapidly. Naturally, nature is used to this tragedy, but in all actuality, this majesty cowshed me. I know how we have fought so fervently, nature, brought the forest to its knees with no thought for fertility, gave mercenaries the go-ahead to go instead and harvest for wood chips, not good ships, homesteads, guitarnocks. I'd martyr myself for this forest, but would that help? Climbing back up the trees are the ancestors laughing at me, fighting with me, or is that narrative arrogant? Nevertheless, I felt this storm was a tease and a test. But without resolve, revolution is absolved. Guess I felt blessed. The storm abated, the bird awakened, drenched in heaven's weepings. I felt attenuated with the tune of the forest. Even on nature's fierce day, all I could do was surrender and offer humble praise that to this day is not waning. There was no debate. The mission would continue with undaunted resolve. I extended my arm, the bird took to the sky, our dilemma seemed solved. But as I stood with eyes ablaze, focused on the sun's return, rocking back and forth to dulcet tones, reminiscent of the eeriness of haunted homes, feeling gaunt to the bone, but slowly healing from within as warmth made its way from heart to hand and into the clutches of poem, where when I'm stuck I return to find home. And now home I share, for this tree sit is where this tree sat, and this forest is no longer there. Thank you.
Give the applause round to Charlie Ruffin. All right, look, we got one more poet for the evening, and then we're going to get back into our streaming team with some more freestyles. Thank you all for coming, and yeah, I'd like to introduce Mr. Alex Elbury to the stage.
Hi. Thank you. Everyone says that. I think it's 'cause it is a nice shirt. My girlfriend got it for me. I'm not good at getting clothes, but she is, so everyone thinks I am. Most days, though, I wake up out of breath. Most days I wake up with a fat lady sitting on my chest, singing. It's like she crept into my house by the light of the moon, while her shadow was dancing like wildfire across my room. She was screaming, "Hey asshole, wake up!" And I gotta wake up to this shit. It's over. It's under. Brace yourself, here comes the thunder. It's like when my big brother taught me that most people are assholes, and that's a universal fact. But that doesn't apply to me and you. If you'd walk me to the train station 5 minutes after we met, writing in my notebook the names of all your favorite, like, antiquity poets, you can't fake not being an asshole like that. That was the poem. Now get fucked. Who do you think you are?
Oh, man. Yeah, no, you're right.
Walking
I'm
around.
sorry, I think I run this show and shit.
Oh my god. Justin Walsh, the rudest of them all. Just the worst person. Yeah, I'll do this one, and then you do one.
And then you want to do another
sing a
one?
song?
Yeah.
This is one I didn't write, but I printed it out and then tore the pages off and put it in my notebook so I could deceive people. I just printed like Arial bold. Does anyone here listen to or know of an Australian songwriter called Kev Carmody? That's
Kev.
Yeah, he's an indigenous guy. He's of the stolen generation, and he taught himself to sing and play guitar and writes the best songs. Like, you know, Bob Dylan, like. I only say this. I only discovered him about 2 or 3 months ago, and it was insane that there was a songwriter from the place that I've lived for 24 years who was just so important. That's a song Paul Kelly made real famous from Little Things, Big Things Grow. He wrote that, and yeah, this is a folk song. It's an incredible story. I'm going to read it off the page. She buried him down at the edge of the town, where the brigalow suckers on the cemetery creep. She stood with them children in a heavy brown gown. What you want, you just can't always keep. I'm sorry, I says. I knew him so well, though your body is young, you just never can tell when the hand of fate will ring that final death knell. She just turned with the saddest of smiles. She says, at the start, we knew it so hard. We were always dealt the severest of cards, like our honeymoon spent droving Jamison stock was the wildest winter you've ever seen. And romantic notions of horses and land were soon dispelled as a fantasized dream. Watching cattle at night in the midwinter cold turns a person both wiry and old. The flame of the breakfast fire'd be dead. As the sun rose up, he'd be miles up ahead. I'd be breaking the camp, rolling the beds, and he fanned the stock whiter for feed. And the weather turned sour with the onset of rain, and the truck would get bogged down to the axle main. He'd just move up ahead with pack saddles and chains, and I'd wait in the mud by the road. With the blankets and canvases there, hung up to dry. Nothing for heat though, because he couldn't light a fire. No stock permit for the forthcoming shire, and the dog would be whimpering in the winter cold rain. See, the thing with cattle is that they don't camp when they're sloshing in rain. They just keep walking all night like a dog on a chain. He'd be red-eyed and weary like a pack horse gone lame, and I'd sit miles behind in the mud. So it was down through Charlesville and up to Julia Creek. We were living on syrup and damper and salted corn meat. We had nothing but the ruse and the mailman to meet. We'd move up and down with the rains. But them inland skies had the starriest of nights, with the dance of the fire throwing flickering lights. The beauty of its sunsets were a constant delight. I felt like nature had let me intrude. The enormous vastness of them inland plains gives you a lonely contentment to which you can't put a name. It's a satisfied glow that city folks seldom obtain. They spend their life on a wry, rigid train. And the kids got their schooling from the government mail. We posted their work off in each cattle sale. They considered their learning a self-imposed jail. They'd much rather help their fathers than fail. But early last month, at the end of the drive, he was given a horse that nobody could ride. Alert with his ears and a fire in his stride, he was young and his spirit was wild. To catch him each morning was an hour-long battle. We had to collar rope his near side just to throw on the saddle. He'd bite and he'd strike. It made my nerves rattle. Pandemonium reigned when he tried. It was a hot summer's morning at the government board, and there was a stillness around that I'd never felt before. How could he know that it was fate at his door that was stealthily watching his moves? He mounted up quick, taking slack from the reins, grasped a full hand of hair from the horse's long mane, and he just hit the saddle and the horse went insane, churning dust in a frenzy of fear. The girth on the saddle let go at the ring, and the surcingle slipped. It was impossible to cling. The horse fell to go and made a mad, desperate fling, and he was thrown to the length of the reins. And I heard his spine snap like a roo shooter's shot. He busted his back on the concreted trough. Sickness and fear were the feelings that I got, for the doctor was a 6-hour drive. I looked at his face, and his colour turned white. He turned slowly and said, I'm not going to make it through this night. My body is broken, and I'm bleeding inside. The life slowly drained from his eyes. So I'll sell up the plant now and move here to town, before the winter comes back with its chill on the ground. For what I've just lost can seldom be found. I was blessed with the gentlest of men. Eventually, the children were moved to the east. But I couldn't stand the bustle of even the quiet city streets. I'll stay in the scrub here, where my heart really beats. Some dogs are just too old for change.
We sung that one recently in the band, and I listened to it the next day on the bus, and I cried. It was fucked. Yeah, it's really ridiculous.
Who was it again?
Kev Carmody. Yeah, it's his everyone. Look him the fuck up. He's amazing. It's ridiculous. In a sort of the latest poem, not the latest poem, but the one before that I wrote. Is actually about the agricultural, the land history in Australia, and the real history that's there. This is your first time hearing the one I've been telling you. Yeah. And I've been reading a book called Dark Emu, which I recommend everybody to read as well, because it's just got some really good information on the actual archaeological aspects of Indigenous life in Australia, and quite how established they were, and how they actually farmed the land and weren't hunter-gatherers. It was really in depth, but a lot of that was kind of pushed aside for a long time. So I found this term in this book called the Continental Narrative, and then that ended up with a poem. So this is the poem. It's in its third edit. I don't think it's finished, but here you go. The continental narrative is drifting, moving further from the tales we know, claim as truths, as we find ourselves in the shifting landscapes of long time. Move closer, lean in near now. Fire flicker, seed sower stories glow across your skin in cracked earth voices. These melodies embedded deep beneath the bare top layer of our throat soils. That song unsung since long time gone, ready and waiting for the floods to be directed into rammed earth dams or deep dug wells. Old, older than we allow ourselves to know. The remembering, the germinate, the taproot driving down, the quickening, the summoning up, the grow. Ghosts of women digging, threshing, roasting, pounding with grinding stones. Sounds of cultivation hushed under bleat of introduced species. The long trail of grass rustle ambulation muted. The river rush of fish filling traps and nets crafted artfully, thinning. Diversity tenuous. But listen closer. Lean in near now. There are some searching, tying together dry bleached bones, seekers, weavers, dreaming of home. Home nurtured, home nourished, home listened to deep like the taproot, the well, reaching for groundwater. There are some who are clearing debris to see these remnants as what they are. There are some collecting down to the last droplet of precious precipitation, drinking deep. There is one standing in awe beside date tree kin. There is one throat raw, hands deep in earth digging. There is one tracking creatures from here to the beginning, and more that are reading, collecting and reseeding, speaking, singing, dancing, dreaming. Drifting this narrative of a continent straddling timelines, shifting with the red dirt landscapes of home, allowing truth to bubble up clean through ancient channels of spirit and stone, listening close. Fire flicker, seed sower stories, glow across your skin in cracked earth voices. That's where it's at the moment anyway. There's a bit more editing to go, but yeah. I've got a little short one as well. This one I wrote like 2 days ago. I've not been writing much recently, and these two came out within the space of a week, so it's kind of refreshing. This is called a capitalization. So it appears I am functioning better than I ever have. Maybe. I'm doing things and stuff, and all the time, not just on occasion, and I'm able to keep myself together even in the stormiest of shits. Only just sometimes, but sure, at least it happens. What happens when my heart is a tumult tin? When the racket becomes more than din and the bashing pushes me crashing out over the edge of my own skin finally again? When I've come so far, is it really further to fall? Why am I contemplating this at all? Why am I now finally capitalizing myself after so many years of lowercase I? Lowered eyes, just in case someone met my gaze and searched for truth. Well, now I guess I want to meet that truth in me just as easily as I search for it in you. Me. Hey, I want to know I'm really more than curious. It is a compulsion. It is a 60-foot wave rumbling deeper and heavier than any sound humans could shuddering make. Stand in front of me or just lie beside, looking into that black pit of nothing where the totality of consciousness resides. And I will return that gaze, capitalize. Good job, and pat on the back there holding your shit together, Juge. You did good. You're doing good. Yeah, sure you're procrastinating via poetry, but it's valid in the scheme of things. This sort of stuff means more and means less in the chaos of information being ricocheted off every inconceivable surface these glorious days and in these glorious times. I am a curious creature still searching. Let's hope that, even with all this functionality, it never leaves me still. Wonder unceasingly is my will. I'd like to invite Mr. Alex Overy back for... Do you want to do a little song? And then we get into the strangutangs? Into the tangs?
I was gonna play a song on the piano and sing it.
Good. I'm glad we all agree.
I didn't hear the other option.
Don't give us two options, we just get left confused.
Exactly! You provide one thing and everyone goes with it. That's the way it works, isn't it? Do you want me to sort out this microphone for you as well, sir? Thanks for letting me read, by the way, guys. I don't usually do this unless there's not enough people who sign up for the open mic, so it's. Oh yeah.